What's happening, rugby fans? Welcome to it. It is the Stormers Focus. You know what happened at Eden Park, right? The Eden Park curse continues. The All Blacks are now 51 matches unbeaten. Many South Africans thought that maybe this is the game that we can beat the All Blacks at Eden Park. Guess what? A completely different story. Some would blame the ref, some would blame the team, but honestly, I feel the Boks lost it all. I want you to join the conversation in the comments section. And also, we're talking about the Springbok women. They've booked their spot in the quarterfinals where they'll take on the Black Ferns. It's bound to be a very tough battle. But we also focus on the Western Province in the Currie Cup. I can't wait. I want you to join the conversation. It is Omni Audio Africa. To my right, I've got rugby's know-it-all, Brett Burns. My brother, how you doing?
I'm fantastic. Some topics I don't want to talk about, but we can't avoid it today.
You saw I looked at you there with the Western Province. We're coming to you. We've seen the passion and the raw emotion, but you guys secured your first victory. So we'll celebrate that as well.
Yeah, we will.
To my left, I've got a former rugby player. He's an analyst, but also a coach, Jonathan Mokoena. My brother, thank you so much for joining us this morning.
No, thanks for having me. I think this is a little bit different to what I'm used to.
Yes.
But I can see we're going to have a lot of fun.
Tons of fun coming your way. We have to talk about the humbling experience that we saw at Eden Park. Some will talk about the ref, Carl Dixon. Some will talk about the Boks. Jonathan Mokoena. The first 20 minutes.
We don't have to start that quick.
We have to go deep, right?
Dive in.
What happened in the first 20 minutes? And specifically, what on earth was Willie Leroux doing with that first try that was scored?
Oh, man. Look, I think if you sit down and, you go and you analyze all matches, the All Blacks are known to start fast. And I think the Springboks actually knew that. I think what happened was, if Willie, let's go with that first try. If Willie, his execution was better and he didn't fall flat on his stomach, then the situation would have been better. But again, I think, for me, the Springboks would probably kick themselves. I think they definitely know they missed a massive opportunity. Because it's not like we were actually under pressure. We knew the All Blacks was going to be fast. We knew there could be, a surprise element here or there, which they did, which they didn't disappoint us. And I think from our perspective, I think Rassie and his management would be more disappointing in the performance of the team than rather, being outplayed.
We spoke about it last week, Brett. We said that the Springboks almost were the team that were going into this one with a lot to prove. Yes, the All Blacks were beaten by Argentina in their last game. So it was one of those where the Boks were struggling for form. But they had less pressure to a certain extent. What went wrong for the Boks at Eden Park? Because there's so many things that we can actually talk about, but what really stood out for you?
Okay, first I want to defend Willie Leroux. I first have to defend him.
Yes, exactly.
So no player is going to go out on purpose and slip and fall over a player. Yes, obviously the guy hits his shin, he fell over flat on his face, but no player is going to go out and say, okay, just let this guy run. So it was an accident. It was something that just went wrong for Willie at that point.
An accident that cost us a try. Bro.
Yes, I get that. But then Will Jordan's try, are we blaming Malcolm Marx for missing the tackle on Will Jordan?
Yeah, that I'll blame him.
We'll come to Malcolm Marx. I've got a lot to say about Malcolm Marx.
So do I. But and I'm going to be that guy. Every single New Zealand fan in my comment section since the World Cup final has been blaming the ref. We blamed the ref once, and now we're the worst fans in rugby history.
Yep.
Yeah.
Like, I know South Africans specifically Blue Bull fans, they like to blame a ref. That's like their trademark thing.
I'm a Blue Bulls fan, just by the way.
That's why I said it. And now, when a ref does something this blatant, I'm going to be that guy. I'm going to blame the ref. I'm going to be the person that's going to say, this ref, in my opinion, somebody was in his pocket. Defend Eden
Pretty,
Park.
that's a bit awesome.
Defend Eden Park at all costs.
By any means necessary.
By any means necessary. Because, and yes, that's a bold thing to say.
Yeah.
And I personally don't care. Like, cancel me if you must. Who cares? I'm joking. Don't. But I feel like some of this stuff was so blatant.
Yes.
That
Fact.
the club refs that I play under will make better calls than that. Like, for example, let's just go to Finney Christie's forward pass. Just something that blatant.
Yo.
That was, and it was in line with the refs. No TMO, nobody got involved. No AR got involved, and it was right in line with the ref. And he said his hands went backward. Don't care if the ball goes 17 meters, look like Patrick Mahomes looking for a linebacker. But that could have been, let's say that didn't have any effects on the game.
Yeah.
But let's talk about that very last, the ruck when on the 79th minute, when Finley Christie had 37 seconds to get rid of the ball.
Yeah.
It's supposed to be 5 seconds.
Yes. He took his time and the ref allowed it.
Yes. And also the ruck right before that. He went to the player, roll away. Told him 4 times, roll away, roll away. And then when he finally rolled away, he said, okay, play on.
Yeah. You see, if I can jump in, I think my biggest challenge with the ref is and it's something that, we almost don't point out enough, is the fact that they're also under pressure.
Yes.
So even though, we might feel that they've been paid, I don't think it was that clear, you got a little bit of something slipped onto the table. I think the fact that there was so much at stake in terms of the history. It's 2 massive teams playing. It's at Eden Park. The Springboks are obviously, World Cup winners. I think that subconsciously, does put pressure on the referees. And if they're not mentally in a good space, I think they will crumble and at that, under the pressure. Go back to that last two breakdowns. If you look at what it did there, if that happened early in the game, he would have penalized them.
Yeah, 100%.
100%. So for me, I think it's something that definitely World Rugby needs to look at, because how do they get the referees having that same outcome in terms of the breakdown and how he applies the laws, but then don't do it in the last 5 seconds.
When it's vital.
Yeah, consistency for me was also the biggest thing, because you look at the calls that he made in the first half versus the calls that he made in the second half. Like, it's miles apart. And it's almost as though all of a sudden his mind was shifted. And you talk about it, like it's almost as though he wanted to protect the All Blacks record at Eden Park. Because to me, that forward pass was the worst mistake ever. Because all of us were screaming. Even the commentators were like, that looks like a forward pass.
Yes.
And when you look at this game, it's a massive game.
It is.
I mean, I think everyone in World Rugby was watching this game. And for Carl Dixon to make mistakes like that, that is not okay.
What got me also in that game was there was a penalty for an advantage for a high tackle. Then New Zealand, apparently they came in from the side, but they allegedly didn't. So he says to Scott Barrett, oh, sorry, I made a mistake there, but there was anyway a high tackle. Yeah. Like, he's admitting that this game is too big for me. Like, get the best refs for the biggest games. I know Victor Matfield said it on another show, and I agree with him. I don't often agree with him, but this time I agree with him. Get the best refs. Like, who's ranked number 1 referee in the world now? Does it matter? Just make sure it's that guy that's reffing this game. Because so we don't have these conversations. Thanks for the content, though, Carl. But yeah,
the challenge with that is, who is our best ref?
We don't know.
So who's the best? Because even the Italian guy from Italy, bald head, cheese cop, even he during the UFC, he was phenomenal.
Yeah.
But then he gets a test and he fumbles.
Yeah, true. I'm not. I don't care who's the ref. Like, if it's from that same country, and I used to not rate Ben O'Keefe at all. Like, for the longest time, but the last 2-3 years, he's been right up there, maybe top 3 refs in the world. I don't care if he's from New Zealand. Just refs the game. If you, I know it would have. I can't see why he would blatantly cost his career by blowing for New Zealand if they all know that he's from New Zealand. Like, if the ref's that good, let him blow.
But how would you then see a guy like Carl Dickinson, Costas, do you think, on your point, in terms of, because you just said now Ben O'Keefe wouldn't do that, why do you think Carl would do that then?
Because he's inexperienced and this game was too big for him and he got flustered, like you said earlier.
Yeah,
like
the pressure.
The pressure was too much for him. He's flustered because he's not experienced enough. He doesn't have the balls to make the decision in the right time of the game. Like that last ruck, if you've told the player 4 times to bloody roll away,
then
the Oak needs to put up your hand and say. And then if Scott Barrett comes to you, by the way, Scott Barrett is the biggest cheat in world rugby. No, let me tell you why.
Tell us more, Brent.
Let me tell you
Tell
why.
us more.
Let me tell you why.
You definitely getting cancelled after this, bro. So go.
I love it. I love it.
So sorry, Scott, but what he did in that game was he bent the rules. He tried to be a Richie McCaw 2.0. He bent the rules to the extent that he knew Carl Dixon is not going to make the big calls because he's shit scared to make the big calls in a game this big. Like, for example, every single line out, before Malcolm Marx had to throw in, they took a step in, and after the ref already separated them. So he encouraged them, let's step in. That midfield line-out that they did, Scott Barrett was offside there. He literally hit the ball out of the player's hand, and because Carl Dixon was on that side. He's bending the rules because he knows it's going to be overlooked in a game with that magnitude. So there was somebody I actually need to give this guy credit. He made a whole YouTube video about just Scott Barrett that was doing everything wrong that would not be picked up. And that is what, when I watched this video, I didn't make my reaction video until 2 days after the game because I wanted to see these things. I wanted to just make sure I'm not being irrational. I'm not overthinking.
Being emotional.
So I wanted to see everybody's opinion, and I specifically looked at content creators from New Zealand to see if they would say anything about it. They didn't. Crickets.
I mean, it worked in their favor. So to me, when calls aren't necessarily being made the right way, I often feel that, and the Springboks have brought in this culture where the captain has the responsibility of going up to the ref and chatting to the ref and almost asking questions in the right way, saying, "Can you please explain? I don't understand." Jesse Kriel, a player that I'm finding my way around him. He's not one of my favorite players. I felt that Siamthanda Kolisi is on the park. He should be skipper, right? But of course, we know that before the game, he wasn't necessarily within the squad, and then he was called up to 8th man. Do you feel that Jesse Kriel, as our skipper, was vocal enough in terms of engaging with the ref? Did he make the right calls? Did he read the tempo of the game correctly?
Look, and I think, for me as a coach, from just a coaching perspective, that's why I don't like a captain in the back line. He's way too far from the action. He's way too far from, if there's something happening, being immediately. I like a forward that's there. That when there's something happen, the referee doesn't have to look for who you need to speak to. He knows exactly who you need to speak to. And I think that is something maybe where Russia will must have a look at, because at the same time, you also don't want everyone speaking to the referee, because you can also lose him.
Yes.
So you have to, maybe even a guy like, Eben was on the park, maybe let Eben lead, rather than having a backline player. I'm not, and I get it. There's a leadership group, there's a core group. But for me, as a coach, I like my captain must be in the forwards. So when things happen, he's right there. He's right there. He doesn't have to run from the back to come to speak to the referee.
Great.
Is that why you made me prop in seven?
I want to make you captain.
Yeah, because
there's a personal agenda here.
I actually completely agree with you. I didn't feel like Siya Kolisi would have led as well as he should be, because of the fact that he's trying to find his feet at 8th man. So I think that made sense that he wasn't the leader, because we can all admit he had a shocker.
I don't think so. I don't think so.
I don't think he was good at all. There's two missed tackles right early in the game. I felt like he was out of sorts. Like, he's out of his comfort zone. He's not where he belongs.
Yeah.
And I thought he had let me say, shocker was a bit of a reach.
That
was a bit of a reach. Sorry. He didn't have a shocker. He just had a very quiet game. And I feel like it played in the back of his mind, like, let me just try and sort out 8th man first before I try and sort out leading the world championship team. So maybe that played in his, but I could have gone with Eben. Eben, like, Jesse, just stand there. I'm vice captain for today. You stand there. I got this. And he's been a leader. So
let's talk about that 8th man position. right? We touched on it last week. I think for me personally, since the retirement of Dwayne Vermeulen, we haven't had a solid 8. And we don't necessarily, and I know that injuries are always a factor, right? But we don't know who will always be in that 8th jersey. It's almost as though we are chopping and changing. 1 week it could be Ivan Roos, 1 week it could be Kwacha Smith, and then we throw in a Siamtanda Kolisi. I want to ask you, as the coach, right? Who should play in the number 8 jersey? Because Sia, to me, didn't do well. And I'll agree with Brett. It's almost as though he was finding his feet. Yes, he's played at 8 for the Sharks, but even there, he was finding his feet. 8 is not his position.
I hear you, but I've got a different perspective. Okay. So, and my perspective is this, so the way we have our attacking shape, and this is really technical now. So our attacking shape is 1-3-3-1. Okay. So what that means, meaning having your loose forwards out wide. Okay. But for that, you need someone in the mid between the 2 15s that's going to go bash hard, run at them. Now, Dwayne was your ultimate player who could do that.
Yeah.
Hence, guy like Peter Steve, if we think back to the World Cup 2019, 2023, when they were out in the edges, in the trams, they hurt people. Now, Sia still does that. For me, the challenge is having a guy like Marco. Marco doesn't have the ball carrying ability to go up the guts through people. He can carry, but he's not a Dwayne. He's not a Jasper. He's not a John Luke. Those are 3 guys that's going to go through your guts. It's either you or him, Now, the fact that we have a Ruan, a Marco actually, means that we need to turn over ball, which we're not doing at the moment. Because we don't have another 6. We don't have someone actually can slow the ball down, can turn over. Now, that has a massive effect on the way you play. See you out in the trams, Peter Steve on the trams. Now, all of a sudden, they're coming a little bit closer. Have a look at Peter Steve. When we played the way we against Australia, that pass that Mani Libbok threw when it got intercepted, where they went to go score. If that ball got wide, we had Peter Steph and Malcolm Marx in the trams there. Now, that for me says that they understand where they need to go and how they need to get there. But unfortunately, in the middle is where we can't. So again, you look at Dwayne. You would not see him in the edges, in the trams. No. Between the 15s, that's where things get dark.
Exactly.
And we don't have someone that actually understands that, because even defensively, if you look at his role, Dwayne's role on defense, the way he has to call the fold, he's the main guy in the midfield to organize defense as well. So it's not just your ball carrying ability or stopping momentum, but it's also understanding who to fold, who to stop, when to drop, etc. Think back again. When we still had the kicking battle, who was the guy at the back catching the ball, carrying it back? Dwayne Vermeulen. Now, unfortunately, we don't have that yet. I think a guy like Ivan, maybe potentially, he's got that. I'm just not sure what Rassi feels. Maybe he still to work on. But for me, if he can kind of understand, the dropping back, getting back in line, and organizing the defense, I think he will potentially be the guy.
Your bet at number 8. Because Sia, to me, is not cracking it. Who are we putting in the 8th jersey? Who's your first choice if everyone is healthy?
So it's never been a secret. I'm a big Ivan Roos fan. Big. I feel like that if he plays that role like from the back with his pace, like he will always break the first line of defense, always. And I agree that he has to come from further and maybe in the trams instead of a Jasper that could be in the middle and actually take it up, because he's a bit slower and stronger.
Yes.
But Ivan Roos is not weak, but he's fast. Yeah. So I'd maybe put potentially if Ivan Roos is starting, then I'd put Peter Steph maybe in the middle. Just try, because I feel like he's stronger, but Jasper, but Ivan Roos is faster. So on the outside, maybe create that extra. I don't rate a Visa that much, because I feel like he's a yellow card waiting to happen every single time. I mean, is this his 2nd red card for the Springboks?
Yeah.
And people say that Ivan Roos's discipline is bad, but they say nothing about Visa. That makes no sense to me. But I'd play maybe a John Luke.
Okay.
potential.
Yeah.
Okay. That's an option.
But yes, I do agree. Sia needs to either go back to 6 or call it a day.
Let's chat about Malcolm Marx. When I look at his performance, so we have to give him credit. He scored a try. So there was, something that we can celebrate. Yep. But the lineouts, to me, were a big question mark. I think in terms of the stats, it was 11 lineouts, and the Springboks only had 3 successful lineouts. Are you happy with what we're seeing from Malcolm Marx? Because to me, he's blowing hot and cold. There are moments where he's absolutely brilliant, and there are moments where I'm like, Malcolm Marx, what's happening? Even with the 50-22, there were moments where he's like, I couldn't hear. Because I got so confused as to what's happening there, because I thought that's a line-out opportunity that could have been a potential try for the Springboks.
Yeah, so on the try, every now and then a blind chicken finds a millie. His performance didn't really, the try didn't make his performance any better. And I had an issue with the lineouts in the beginning of the game, but then, like I said to you, when I watched it 2 days later, the dark arts of New Zealand closing line out, literally closing the gap when the ref didn't look to poach his balls, took away a bit that, oh wait, that's not quite Malcolm Marx's fault. That is maybe a Eben that is vice captain saying, don't throw in the ball, these guys are creeping up. Like, you are the first jumper in the line out. You can see this happening.
Yeah.
And if a guy takes the ball in front of a Norkia, which is almost unheard of, that's why he's there, because he's the best line-out jumper that we have. So I was very harsh on Malcolm until I actually saw the dark arts of New Zealand and Scott Barrett. But the missed tackle from him on Will Jordan, that's unforgivable.
Yeah.
Unforgivable. It's like, you are there to cross defense and close that gap so that does not happen. And you're one of the best tacklers in the world. And the fact that he hardly went when fetching, when that's also his role. He's the second fetcher in the team. So that, yes, he didn't have a great game, but I do forgive him a little bit about the lineouts.
Are you forgiving Malcolm Marx?
I think, for a man of his quality and his standards, I think he'd be disappointed as well. That simple with that second try behind the lineout, that was a missed tackle. That's not something
Will Jordan went straight through.
That's not something the coach can teach you, or etc. I think even furthermore, the fact that we got caught with the overthrow, even more worry, because it means he didn't react to when the ball left the hands, because his job is to get to close that. If he doesn't get there, the whole backline is messed up. You know, so 2 things. One, he had to first react quicker to the overthrow, and secondly, he had to make the tackle. My question is a little bit different though, and we've been complaining about the Springbok lineouts since Bongi has actually played.
Yes.
Now the question is it the system issue or is it personnel issue? Because if it's 2 different hookers and he's still struggling with lineouts, surely it can't be your personnel then. Then it has to be system. So maybe that's something we need to look at to maybe make it even more simplified. Is it support? Is it the fact? Because again, I think the way we called and the times we called it was there. It was an opportunity. But again, up until Saturday's match, we were actually the best at competing at lineouts. Yet on Saturday, things just boomeranged. So it's definitely some homework for Dion Davids. Because he has to sort it out, because again, we create pressure, penalty, kick for touch, and then we lose the line-out. First opportunity. I think I worked on the match, and I think I counted about 6 opportunities from line-outs that we didn't capitalize on. Opportunities when in the goal zone. Now, at test level, if you get that much opportunities, you got to walk away with points, which we didn't. Now, again, you kind of, there's a lot of questions now in terms of, is our seniors too old, this and that. I don't think so. I think at the moment there's no confidence. And once we can get back our confidence, this team will flourish again. Eben doesn't just get bad overnight. Ox doesn't just get bad overnight. There's so many names. Even Malcolm. So for me, I think it's just more of a lack of confidence than actually, them still not being able to play there.
You touched on something very important. Do you want to jump in quickly?
I do. Just on that, can we also, I'm not going to play the blame game, but the fact that Sia was 8th man on that overthrow. You know, when there's an overthrow, you don't react by going straight backwards. You go towards the fly for that if there's an inside ball. And he went straight back. Like, do you think that's inexperience at 8 from Sia, not knowing, because he never stands right at the back of the line out? And I felt like, yes, Malcolm Marx missed that tackle, but if Sia went into the fly of channel where 8 on an overthrow normally has to go, I feel like Will Jordan wouldn't have even seen that gap. He wouldn't have gone straight through like a hot curry. But also, what do you think of that?
I think the for me, what happened with that line-out is the fact that the overthrow happened. What New Zealand did really smart is they actually send the pot up. Now, our job there is to apply pressure in the line-out. We went up. That, in its first place, is how you actually pin the defense. Now, the first receiver on the inside will always be the last guy coming out of the lineup, which unfortunately was Malcolm. Now, to your question in terms of the first receiver, remember from 4-5-man lineouts, Sia will always be the first defender.
Yes.
You know, then it's your Lucy, then it's the last guy out of the lineout will be your hooker. But I'm not too worried about the fact that Sia actually, because he had to get onto Satiti first. He had to. I mean, if he didn't get onto Satiti, he probably would have scored.
Yes.
So I'm not too worried about that. I think, if we reacted a little bit quicker, they wouldn't have scored there.
And last one on the Malcolm Marx thing. Do you think him playing in the Japanese league is weakening his game?
Nah, not at all.
Not
at all, because in fact, Japanese rugby is actually quite fast.
Okay.
It's quite fast, and plus the fact that they only have 15 games per year. So that keeps him fresh. It keeps him, short the season. And also they train at an immense intensity, which helps. You can have a look at Jesse. You can have a look at Cheslin, who's been there. A lot of the guys go there, normally come back better.
Okay.
I think.
I want to touch on the system. You spoke about the system, right?
Next time we get
No, we'll make a plan.
Come on.
Coach Tony Brown was brought into the Springbok fold under Coach Rassie Erasmus. To me, when I look at the identity, quote unquote, and this is just my personal opinion, is South African rugby is a little bit slower, but it's incredibly physical. Our backline players have the pace, and when gaps are opened, they can run through those gaps like a Cheslin Colby. What are your thoughts of Tony Brown bringing this identity where it's fast running rugby and it's not as physical as what we are used to? Because when I look at Saturday's game, it started raining quite early on. To me, I was screaming at the TV saying, gents, slow the game down. Let's be a little bit more physical because it gives us time to think. 2 minutes into the game, they scored that first try. So you're already panicking. So slow the game down. It gives you more time. You can think. But it almost seemed like they want to play fast. And they want to compete with the All Blacks at fast running rugby. And the All Blacks are the best at that game.
You know, if you shout at the TV, they can't hear you, right?
I mean, I'm an emotional fan.
Yeah, so that's where I actually disagree a little bit with you in wet weather. It's very easy to defend when you tighten the game up. It's like you think that the team's going to keep the ball close, and that's why Tony Brown from New Zealand, he's used to wet weather his entire career. I felt like the ball should have gone wide early. New Zealand did that. They scored a try. South Africa then eventually after 20 minutes they brought it in. Ox carried about 14 times in the first 25 minutes, which was easy to defend. I feel like ball should have gone a channel wider to Dalenda. He could carry up and then maybe look for Jesse on the outside. And you can't tell me that if those balls, the technology in the balls that they use today, you can't blame the wet weather. You cannot. I've played with some of those balls. You should have as well. They're easy to pass in wet weather. I mean, send the ball wide because they're expecting you to bring it close. It's just easy. Shift one channel in. Ox is going to carry it. Let's go for the steal because we actually have fetchers that want to fetch the ball, not like Marx and Marku that was watching rugby.
Yo, throwing grenades.
Yeah.
Jonathan, your thoughts on Tony Brown and the system that the Boks are using at the moment, and also their reaction to the wet conditions that we saw at Eden Park?
Well, firstly, I think if you look at our outside backs, Cheslin Colby, Kanan Moody, you can name numerous number of names. the last few years, a lot of people has complained about us being one-dimensional, kicking, suffocate, strangle, defense, kick, suffocate, strangle, maul, back to that kind of thing. So I'm loving the fact that we are trying new things. I'm loving the fact that we're actually developing our game. Because remember, other teams are also watching. They know if they stop Eben, they stop Lewitt, they stop Sia, our momentum is gone. Now all of a sudden they have to start worrying about what if they do that. What if there's another something? What if there's another dimension, from the box? I think what Tony Brown is trying to do is on the right track. My challenge is just that if we play this attacking brand of rugby, we need to react quicker to the breakdown.
Okay.
Saturday, our breakdowns was phenomenal until that last 5 minutes, where we actually lost two vital breakdowns. And the last one was obviously Ardisha via the turnover, which was illegal. But moving along, speaking about the breakdown, which was illegal. But again, I think if the previous matches, Georgia, Italy, Australia, our breakdowns were shocking. And for me, it was just a fact of we playing rugby and players running more lateral than reacting to the ball. I think we on the right track in terms of our attack. It's just now a matter of getting better at it and everyone understanding, because if you look at players, Sharks, Lions, Bulls, it's different identities to what the Springboks are trying to kind of create now. So if we can get everyone understanding that, seeing the pictures, because it's all about seeing pictures for you to react to the breakdown. Yeah. Knowing when to stay on top of them, when to go deeper, when to go flatter, when to go look for the offload. So it's all those little nuances that I think as a Springbok group, we need to get better, and it will only take time. We cannot now say, listen, we need to move back. Because Tony Brown is there, and I think he's going to be there to stay. We have to keep on knocking at the door, because a lot of people are also speaking about a defense.
Yes.
I'm not too worried about it. I promise you, I'm not too worried about it. What I am worried about on the one aspect is the fact that teams are getting into the wider channels. Australia did it. New Zealand did it on Saturday as well. So what they're doing is 2 passes, a wing comes up, cross kick into that space, Vali's then isolated. Now, somehow, we got to find a way to kind of, counter that, because more teams will start doing that. And once they get into that space, it's always going to be scramble. Or it's always going to be problem for us in terms of our defense.
Eden Park is in the past. Next, the Springboks go to Wellington. Another big test against the All Blacks. I want to talk about the squad that Rassie has selected. First thing, last week, we saw him be a little bit more patient, take his time. This week, on Monday, Soma, there you go.
Yeah.
Eben Etzebeth. Let's talk about him. Not in the starting 15. Eben is one of those players that some would even think most capped Springbok, number 4, done, signed, sealed, and delivered. Rassie said, I'm writing a different script. Your thoughts, Brett?
So if you think about it, the Oaks played a lot of rugby. I feel like if he's not injured, he deserves a break.
Against the All Blacks?
In Wellington.
That's my question.
No.
Eben deserves a break against the All Blacks?
Yes. I don't know. I think he's become one-dimensional in the last maybe 4 games. And I think he's got complacent. And Rassie has realized it and said, you need a break. Go fix yourself, because you're not doing what we signed up for. So I think it's just he's pulling the strings on players that are complacent, and he's not going to reward mediocrity.
Yeah, same thing.
Yeah.
Same.
I get you. I get you. Yeah, I definitely agree. I think Eben has not been the Eben of late. But at the same time, we have guys like Lewitt and Ruan and Argia putting pressure on Rassie. And I also think it's just fair, because you cannot have guys in the group that's performing week in and week out, but they're not getting the opportunity. And I know Rassie. He's that guy. If you don't bring your part, he'll give you opportunity until you can't anymore, and then he'll replace you. And I think that's probably what happened over the weekend.
You talk about replacing players. Andre Pollard. Grant Williams.
Yeah.
They're not in the starting 15.
Yeah.
I thought personally, Andre did quite well. There were moments against the All Blacks where I felt that he was quite vocal. He was, to me at least, trying to be that general, trying to command in the back line. But clearly, Rassi doesn't agree. And now we're seeing Sasha. His form has also been hot and cold a little bit. What do you make of just that scrummy and that fly-half combination? Kobus Reinach comes in, Sasha comes in at fly-half.
Yeah, so I think Grant Williams did Handré Pollard a dirty by having a shocker, and Pollard didn't get the service that he needed. Grant Williams was under lots of pressure.
Yeah. You could see it in his face as well.
You could.
He was panicking.
When he knocked that ball, you could see he still lived with that knock for about 5 minutes after that. And I think I'm a fly-off, not a prop.
I'll make a note of that.
So when I don't get good ball from my 9 and I'm under pressure, I put that whole backline under pressure. I look bad because of the service I'm getting from the 9. Not ever blaming a 9 that I've played with. You guys are all good. But yeah, so I think that's what happened. And I think the combination just didn't work. And the fact that Reinach and Sasha are going to be playing together at the Stormers, that's probably going to be the 9s in combo, seeing that Manie Libbok is gone.
Yes.
So I feel like it's a good way to start against the All Blacks. So I think it's a combination thing. I think that if Pollard was going to get dropped, Grant was going to get dropped, and vice versa. So I don't think Polly was too bad. I do think he was a bit slow when he did get good ball. And I felt like if there was one fly-off that could have performed better than Polly in that game, it was Manie Libbok in that specific test. I think we needed a bit of a quicker ball, and that's what Manie offers. He's got one of the best passes in world rugby for me. Except for when he throws Hail Marys against Australia. But other than that, yeah, I think it was just a combination thing.
Interesting. Just back to Grant Williams, and you spoke about the knock-on effect. The only mistake for me that, Grant actually made was the knock-on. We, in terms of our kicking game, again, technical aspect, you look at the pressure that was applied on Grant Williams. And the pressure that was applied on him was made easier due to the fact that, our forwards, the tail of let's call it the blockers, weren't really in place. So what New Zealand did really well is that every single time there was a breakdown, they would counter, they would pull us in. We would send two extra guys in. That tail then becomes shorter.
Yes, yeah.
Now all of a sudden our kicks is not as
effective.
Perfect and effective because our kicks is not contestable. It's too far. Grant is kicking under pressure. Where on the converse, if you look at Finley Christie, his kicks, New Zealand knew they had to make it 50-50 every single time. If they kick too long, they would be punished. And I think that's also another aspect where New Zealand actually did well by kicking contestable and making every single kick 50-50. Where our kicks at times was 50-50. Look at the second half when Kobus came on. We've sorted out our breakdown. Our tail was longer. The execution was better. We could apply pressure. Kanan Moody twice, catching the ball out of the air. Now, unfortunately, speaking about the knock-ons, if your forwards don't do their job, breakdown, the 9 gets the pressure. Your 10 gets the pressure. And it's got a massive knock-on effect. And you can't look at anything or everything in the game in isolation. There's so many intricacies to ensure that the outcome is actually for the good. Again, just specifically with the kicks. If Barrett, again, your favorite player, if he plays again, he would have known that he actually got away with a lot.
He did.
By the fact, pulling in, came around the corner, getting his timing right, we made it easy for him to apply pressure. And when he applied that first kick, he still was up in the air.
Let's move on to the rest of the squad. I want to go to 15. We started this conversation talking about Willie Leroux, right? He's not in the starting 15. It's your favorite player. Apelele Fasi. He's starting at 15. Your reaction to that?
Like we said last week, that so
I love it when he talks about Apelele Fasi.
It pains me to say, but at this point, he is the best 15 that we have. Willems is overweight, that's why they moved him to 12. Willie is having, I don't know what he's doing, but he's not as confident as he normally is. The try assist, if he has one try assist in a game, his confidence is up, and he's probably the best in the world. But if he makes a blunder like he does, same thing, knock-on effect.
Yeah.
And it's in his head for the whole game. That's why he got subbed, because he was still reliving that stupid moment. But so Fassi is the only one that's there. I don't have anything else to say on that.
Coach?
It's if, let me say this. Let me say this. If Fassi comes through the weekend, we can actually baptize him as the best 15. And I'll tell you why. He's going to be up against a team that's going to, again, kick contestable.
Yes.
That's going to test him. Will Jordan is going to test him. Well, their team's not out yet. Test him tremendously. And thirdly, they're playing in Wellington. Very windy. They're playing in a Cape Town. The wind does a lot of swirls inside the stadium. So if he can, pass this test over the weekend, we can actually baptize him as the best 15 because we know what he can do.
Yeah.
He's not been up until this point. He's not been the greatest. Let's face it. His form has not been good. Also, long injury, blah 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 blah. So if he passes this weekend, 15 is his.
Wellington, I feel, is the ultimate test for the Springboks as to can they win this rugby championship. I believe Argentina they're good, but I mean, they did beat the All Blacks. It is what it is. Cool. If they beat the All Blacks at Wellington, I believe we still stand a chance to win the rugby championship, right? What do the Boks have to do right? Because a lot went wrong at Eden Park. What do they have to do right in Wellington to get the W against the All Blacks?
Biggest thing for me, the forward has got to come to the party. That backline, Kobus, Sasha, Damien, you can name the whole backline. They can, and they will only be able to flourish if the forwards do their job. And I think, again, there's going to be a massive responsibility on our set pieces, on the way we carry, on giving the backs enough front foot ball to actually do what they can. Because that backline will tear you to pieces if they get front foot ball. And I think if there's ever a game for us to really, so that mongrel and the hondhart,
fight.
It's the fight. Then it's this weekend because we can. If we lose this weekend, then we actually put ourselves in a difficult position.
Yeah, I like how you said that. The fight, because that backline will tear you to pieces. Against anybody. I like Moody at 13. I like Willems at 12. That he's got a dirty step. Very dirty step. But so does Sasha.
Yes. Yeah.
So you slip up in one channel, you toast. So I agree. The forwards have to come to the party and take all the pressure off Sasha. Like you said just now, the 9 and 10, if the forwards don't perform and 9 and 10's under pressure, that's where we'll choke. But I do, however, want to say that Kobus Reinach, his calm head. Like, did you see the last 20 minutes? He was probably the calmest guy on the field. And people were complaining that he gives 2 steps before he passes. But that's strategic. That's like, come at me.
That's him taking his time.
Yeah, exactly. So I'm calm. You might not be. So I think he deserves to start. And the pace that he has. And I think, oh my goodness, if the forwards perform well and that backline gets go ahead, oh my word, it's going to be beautiful.
I must say the only light flickering in my head, question mark. There we go. Is the fact that Damien and Kanan really hasn't really played as a centre pairing before at this level. If they can connect and understand where they want to go, we could be in the mix. But again, both talented players, whether they've combined at centre already, but before, I don't know.
Give me a score prediction. All Blacks, Springboks, Wellington, where you at?
It's going to go down to the wire. Box by 3 points.
Box by 3 points. Brett Burns.
I also would have liked to have made a prediction if I saw the All Black side, because I think that with the injuries that they have, I think 6 injuries, both wings are out. So I think Will Jordan's going to go back to wing with D-Mac at fullback, potentially. Otherwise, Bowden Barrett at fullback and D-Mac at 10 to counter Sasha. I think it's also going to be close. I'm going box by 4, but only if what happens with the forwards. If they fire and the backs get go forward ball, we're winning by 4.
We'll keep you guys accountable next week.
Yeah.
All right?
Yeah.
Now